at that 15-minute mark, and NIP continue their 100% win record when they are ahead at 15 minutes in the latter half of this split. More respect from Fnatic towards Sprattel, specifically from the NIP with the Kalista ban, and it's a Caitlyn ban from NIP.
Jarvan being banned away, this forces Ninjas into a bit of a tricky situation. Do they ban away the Kalista to give Elise and Thresh over to Fnatic, or do they ban away the Elise, giving away the Kalista to Fnatic? I feel like banning away the Kalista makes the most sense. Rekkles is an individual that, even if he plays a champion for the first time, still pretty good at it. And what we saw from Hyun's performance earlier on in the day, I feel like that is not a champion you want to afford to give away.
Purely from the numbers, giving Fnatic Kalista is not a bad thing. They have played one game on it, and they lost that game. So perhaps NIP are in the minds of Fnatic. They do ban out the LeBlanc instead, which will give the Elise across to Fnatic, but this opens up a world of opportunities for NIP.
I think it does. This will give them the Kalista, and they have a wealth of options here. You can go for the Alistar, you can go for the Rakan. My apologies, Alistar has been banned away, but it does raise the value of Kalista and Rakan especially. Thresh as well is another great combo. Right now, Kalista is just such a great AD carry that pairs so well with a bunch of different supports that locking it in is definitely a safe thing to do, especially after HeaQ's great performance. But now you're looking at Fnatic going for something like a Tristana themselves, because it is a great answer to the Kalista and is one of the few AD carries that have been left available.
See, Fnatic really prioritizing that at least 100% win rate for Broxah on it across the course of the split. And there's going to be a Gnar here for Profit in the top lane, so no Thresh lock here for NIP. They've left that support pool a little bit more open as Fnatic get to their second set of picks.
The thing is, if you go for an early Thresh, that runs the risk of enemy Fnatic going for a Tristana Braum or a Tristana Tahm Kench, which means that you can't get that same level of early snowball that you typically want from a Kalista lane. Therefore, they're holding onto it for a little while. They want to see what gets locked in, and then that can they can pivot on where they go with their support choices. So I think if Fnatic locked in a Braum now, you're very likely to see something like the Rakan come out from the side of NIP.
Fnatic have a track record as well of holding their top lane pick until later on in the draft. They have a 100% top lane counter rate, and once again that will be enacted in this game, as we see already the top laner for NIP. It's going to be a Cassiopeia for Caps in the mid lane, we expect. Could of course go tops. Last time we saw that out of Fnatic, it was Huni playing it in that 2015 summer split.
I'm expecting it to be in the middle lane. If it is locked in, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the Talia come out from Nagne. Azir is a fine matchup into it as well. A little bit risky, of course, because the early weaknesses that Azir does have. But instead, Nagne shifting his priorities onto one of the more powerful mid laners that we have in the game, in the current meta. Syndra, very, very potent. And now we're looking at a lot of support bans from Fnatic. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a few from Ninjas in Pyjamas as well. But alternatively, they could look to ban away things like the Camille, who does relatively well into the Gnar. And they may even choose to ban away the Kled, but it wasn't that much of a threat in game one.
Have to wait and see. A little bit of different composition from both of these teams coming into the second ban phase. It is a Thresh taken away from Fnatic, as you predicted. Alongside that, NIP removed the Camille from sOAZ in that top lane.
Just thinking about some of the additional supports that are available. Again, like looking at things like the Rakan. The other one is the possibility of a Cannon. But you really want to be careful about when you pick the Cannon up with the Kalista, because it is a very powerful all-in lane in the bottom lane, but into certain matchups it can be a little difficult. Like Janna will make a Cannon's life hell. So you want to make sure that you don't just blind pick it, and it will make things a little more difficult. But Ninjas, I'm sure they'd be very comfortable locking in their jungler right now. They could go for the Kayn is still available. It was banned in game one. It was something that Shook brought out against Misfits, and they were able to get a win on that champion. Alternatively, they could just go for the Sejuani once again. Have that front line. Have someone who can soak up the damage and act as a tank. And I'm super surprised that we haven't talked about it at all. Gragas is something that we thought would have a lot of priority in this game, but we were so distracted because of the early priority on the Elise from the side of Fnatic.
And it gets through the second ban phase as well, because Fnatic put that support focus, and now we'll see Fnatic having to pick their own support and NIP having the support counter to round it out. It's so important for Fnatic to have a strong bot lane, because Jesiz, we praised him at the start of the last game, but he ended up going 0-7-4 on that Thresh in game one.
So he had a great early game, but his later game impact significantly less. So we'll have to see if he can change that up with the Braum now. Very much what we expected in our discussions. And when you look at some of the top lanes available, wouldn't be surprised to see something like a Kled again. But maybe they want something a little bit more early game to pair it with the Elise to try and have that early dive potential, but you're kind of limited in terms of your options. Cho'Gath is a possibility, Rumble is another option, and it will look like that will be the additional threat. But there is a lot of AP right now on the side of Fnatic.
Yeah, Elise, Cassiopeia, and the Rumble. Usually Rumble picked if you have more AD coming out from the rest of your team. NIP have a few options here for support. Could go for the Janna themselves if they want a bit of disengage. Could, of course, go for the Lulu as well. These more utility supports rather than the melee engage supports we tend to see.
With Unsensor on the rise, Lulu and Janna have become more popular support picks. Here in Europe, we've favored more towards the Janna, but this will be picked up by Sprattel in the bottom lane. It provides a good amount of peel, synergizes fairly well with the Kalista, can't fully utilize the ultimate as effectively as a melee support could, but because of the range advantage that you have, it means that you can bully around this Tristana and Braum during the laning phase, especially once you get a few levels under your belt.
So once again, NIP with the bullying bottom lane. We saw it with the Tristana in the last game. They were able to push up Fnatic. Compositionally, Fnatic seem to have a bit of scaling and a bit of early game. NIP going for a similar but slightly different composition from the last game. What are these teams looking to do?
I think for NIP, they're much more focused now on getting an early lead compared to what we saw last game. They had a Trist before, now they have a Kalista. Late into the game, Kalista can still do damage, but from a relative standpoint, Trist is going to do a lot more. So you want to try and get an early lead, hit that 2-item spike, force a snowball, pair that up with the Syndra too, who excels around the 2-3 items as well, and you want to try and run away with things using these two carries from HeaQ and Nagne, whereas Fnatic, they're more than happy to scale into the late game. They have early threat from the Elise, but it doesn't matter if they aren't able to quite get that early snowball. Elise is mainly there to shut down the early snowball attempts from the side of NIP.
Once again, we're going to get onto the Summoners with Fnatic looking to maintain their single defeat across the split. NIP looking to improve their single win across the summer split. It is the last game of the split for NIP. Fnatic have one more foe to face after this, and that will be G2 on Saturday.
And it's very convenient that in game one we talked about how conventionally Fnatic struggle against the bottom tier teams, whereas they have much better performance and much steady gold advantages when they go up against the top teams. And we discussed, could that be due to a lack of respect? Maybe it's just because they don't anticipate what the non-playoff teams will be able to pull off. It could be also that they show them too much respect, and as a result, they end up giving them a lot of advantages. There are a lot of possibilities, but in game one, what we saw was, I feel, just a slight failure in execution on the side of Fnatic, along with NIP effectively playing the champions very, very well. Like Nagne landing a lot of great shockwaves, HeaQ's positioning was always on point, Prophet had fantastic ultimates, and he utilized a combination of split pushing and team fighting, which is great for NIP. Given that one of our main narratives for the majority of the split was maybe just let Prophet split push to victory. So it's nice to see this kind of evolution from the team of NIP.
And it's an evolution we've seen across the last few weeks as well, especially from Prophet. He's getting so much more involved with his team, and although he could split push in the last game, his real power came down to when he was landing those 4-man Gnars in fights, when he was helping the team in the team fights later on. Fnatic are going to start at the red. No super leash for them, just going to secure that first Bramble back for Broxah. And meanwhile, NIP, HeaQ will start over to his blue side, allowing both these junglers to get a big camp to start them off.
So, not too long ago, Rumble had a few nerfs to the cooldown on his Flame Spitter, which meant that early pushing and early trading, not as strong, but still exists. Which means that when you're going up against a Gnar who naturally pushes during the early game, it's something that you want to be mindful of when you're a jungler. So what you'll see is HeaQ started bot side along with Broxah. HeaQ is very mindful of the fact that Prophet could push in, he could overextend, and he wants to make sure that he's there so that he can help his top laner in the event that a 2 versus 2 breaks out, or to just zone Broxah away from any potential engages. That's why he's decided to start bot side, and I expect him to move towards the river or the top side of the map just to get a bit of vision down, along with Prophet, putting a good river ward in there, also showing respect to this early game focused Elise.
Speaking of zone control, Cap's got control of the mid lane, and it's allowed him to place a ward at the Razorbeaks, which means Fnatic know that Shook has gone straight to his red buff and then up towards the Clogs as well. Broxah's gone for a little invade, but meanwhile in the bottom lane, HeaQ's being jumped on. Ignite comes down, concussive flows as well, and this might be first blood for Fnatic. Rekkles jumps in once again, HeaQ flashes away, but it's a kill for Fnatic. Jesiz secures that one.
Level 2 power spike for Fnatic. Utilizing the passive from Jesiz along with the early burst power from Rekkles of the explosive shot. Or the E, I forget the name.
Explosive shot is right, Vedius.
Wonderful. But that was fantastic from Fnatic, fully understanding the strength of their 2 versus 2 and just punishing one of the reasons why Lulu fell out of the meta. She had a nerf to her base HP, she's super squishy in the early game. One of the reasons why people were picking so much Thresh into her was because you could just all in. And that's exactly what they did. Sprattel could do very little, and it results in HeaQ falling behind. And this is very detrimental to NIP, whose main focus in the early game is to try and get HeaQ and Nagne ahead.
We said in Picks and Downs we thought HeaQ and Sprattel would have the advantage in that lane, be able to force back Jesiz and Rekkles, but that level 2 power spike means they have a CS lead, a double dagger for Rekkles as well. He's got that attack speed stacking up, and they can look to force HeaQ and Sprattel back. Only a flash left on the Lulu. No other summoners for NIP in the bottom lane, and perhaps that would even spell a Broxah gank down towards that bottom side. Elise very good at tower diving.
Oh, she certainly is. Would not be a bad thing for Fnatic to invest in the bottom side of the map. Try and get Rekkles ahead on this Tristana. Cassio exerting a lot of dominance in the laning phase. You can already see CS advantages building across the board. Prophet not wanting to try and push too hard, showing a lot of caution towards this Elise. Does not want to risk giving away any early kills. And while there is a big minion wave stacking up, he'll close that gap a fair amount. Fnatic already off to a phenomenal start, only 5 minutes into the game.
And one of the members of NIP that we highlighted in the first game was HeaQ. He went unkilled throughout the entire course of the game and was able to push Rekkles and Jesiz back in this lane. He just played it incredibly well. Look at it, 12 kills, no deaths at all. And now we're going to start to see the converse of that coin. We're going to start to see why Rekkles is respected as one of the best AD carries in the West, because even off a loss, he's able to make these early aggressive plays and secure a lead for his team in the lane.
Well, now they're looking to extend that lead with Broxah hanging around. You called it earlier, Medic. The possibility of a investment from Broxah down to the bottom side. His flash is down for the time being.
But he has snuck into this bush, but you see how safe NIP are playing. You set up towards the top side. Prophet is standing back from sOAZ because of the possibility of this gank. Sprattel and HeaQ are standing so far back because they know they have no summoners, and they know Broxah is a very strong early jungler. Has yet to lose a game on this Elise across the split, and the reason for that is because he's so good at setting up early ganks and early kills.
And this is resulting just the pressure of Broxah, the aura that he brings by playing this champion is resulting in these CS deficits happening across the board. NIP being forced back. They wanted to play towards the win conditions of getting early advantages, but right now things definitely not going the way they want. Nagne now hitting level 6. This will help him a lot in the 1 versus 1.
No.
And notice how much he's playing towards the top side of his lane. That's where the vision exists. They know the Broxah is not on the top side of the jungle, so Nagne doesn't want to venture down towards that bottom side, again, due to the possible risk of a gank.
But even after early aggression from Caps, Nagne is able to equalize this lane out. Has got the cleanse to keep himself a little bit safer in the lane, but we saw this in game 1 as well. Nagne actually was able to get Caps' number, especially in the laning phase, something we don't always expect from Caps, who is known as a very strong, mechanical mid laner.
I think a bit of disrespect being shown last game, but Nagne showing a lot this game.
Unleash power onto Caps. Shook is just around the corner, does not have 6. Broxah nowhere near, and Caps will be able to retreat away. Did burn barrier, but did not have to use his flash.
Nagne was able to get the barrier out. And now Caps still actually very low on HP. Stun lands.
Nagne won't be able to get enough damage down with that Dark Sphere. NIP have looked good in the early games, a few of these games, Vedius, and you have to think about the teams they're going to face in the next couple of weeks as well. The challenger lineups of Schalke and Giants and Mysterious Monkeys as well from Group B. If NIP continue to play like that first game, these other teams will be very, very concerned.
Yeah, it's one of those things where every split, The casters who cover Challenger are always like, oh, these Challenger teams, yeah, ace, 10 out of 10. They look amazing. They're going to dumpster the bottom LCS teams. No way will they be able to challenge. And last split, I feel was the only time where that actually came to fruition, because time and time again, the experience that you gain from playing on an LCS stage and playing against the best teams in Europe just has so much value that even if you're at the bottom of the LCS, you're still able to challenge the top of Challenger.
You have to remember, last split was the first time I cast Challenger as well, so maybe it's just better analysts in the Challenger series who are predicting these things now. Maybe the quality
of our predicting skills has just reached a new level. But there'll be plenty of time to talk about the Challenger teams as the quarterfinals will begin next week along with the promotion tournament.
And it will. Going to be some incredible games across the next few weeks, of course, culminating in Paris as well for those finals and the third place match. I want to look at item builds here for a second. Vedius Caps has gone back, he's picked up his tier and his catalyst of Aeons. He's talked about scaling in picks and bans. He's starting to get that scaling ball rolling on this Cassiopeia.
It's a good back there from Caps, being able to pick up both those. One of the interesting things about Cassiopeia is, for a champion that builds only mana items as the first few things, she does a lot of damage. You know, like if you're playing like a Lux or an Anivia and they go tier, you sit there and think, nah, I don't have to worry about that. Like, they're not going to be any real threat. I still have pressure in the lane. But Cassio, it's just because of the speed of which that she can damage you with her E, the low cooldown, and the poison ticks that do bonus damage, that she's able to trade so effectively with very few AP, which is why she does so much damage in the later game, as we see another dive now setting up in the bottom.
Fnatic love this four-man dive towards the bottom lane. Fate's Call will pull back Sprattel. They're underneath the tower. They still have exhaust. Sprattel is not 6, and the teleport's coming in as well. Fnatic going for the 5-man dive, and they will get 1. They're looking for 2. That's a double for Caps, and should be a tower for Fnatic as well.
And Fnatic continuing to shut down this Lulu. Such great understanding of the weaknesses of this champion. And a champion like Kalista that wants to try and snowball is being prevented from doing so because Lulu cannot support it. Every opportunity, Fnatic are trying to go all in, all in, all in, and they are succeeding time and time again.
And so much of it comes back to how well Rekkles and Jesiz played that level 2. They had a level advantage on Sprattel. They were able to go aggressive. Shook will be able to just back away here, but coming back to that bottom lane, there's now a 30 CS lead for Rekkles over HeaQ, and we said HeaQ stepped up in the last game. Rekkles has shown that he can step up in this one.
And look at the vision setup that you can see from Fnatic prior to this exchange. 3 control wards in the river, plenty of little blue wards set up at the entrances to the jungle. They know exactly where NIP is. They know they can make this roam down to the bottom side of the map, and they can very easily pick up 2 kills. They even are able to, they use the TP from sOAZ, they realize they don't need it, Prophet isn't able to match it. Everything just so beautifully executed by the team of Fnatic.
NIP will get the Rift Herald for the second time in the series. We saw them use it mid last time, got a chunk of damage on the tower. Fnatic will secure only their second dragon, though. It is a mountain, which they will be very happy with early on, especially with a Cassio and a Trist. Taking Baron is going to become even easier for them.
Now, bear in mind the Rift Herald available. There's a fair amount of wave throw on Nagne, but he's been completely zoned away from the lane. Fnatic, they can just run up to this using Rekkles as the main siege tool. Take this power down to 1/3 of its HP. Fnatic looking completely different to their Game 1 performance. You can see the difference when they're able to get themselves those comfort picks. When Caps is on something like a Cassio, Rekkles on the Tristana, Broxah on the Elise. They certainly have not played these champions never before this game. That was a bad sentence.
It's all right. I will correct it for you, Vedius. It's fine. That's why we're a team here. A lot more experience for Fnatic on these champions across the course of the split. sOAZ has actually not played Rumble yet this split, so this is his first time, but he's played it a lot.
He's doing a great job.
A lot in his history, yeah. And this is something I wanted to come to, because in the last game, Prophet was able to get a lead over sOAZ in that top lane. We saw he took first tower, and this game, he just hasn't been able to do that to sOAZ, and we haven't seen too much pressure from either of the junglers up there as well, so it seems to be much more of a matchup thing, or perhaps sOAZ is just playing that much better.
Well, in the early game, Prophet was very aware of not pushing up, where he could use the range advantage, the slightly longer cooldowns on the Rumble, where he would be weaker and he could start zoning him away from farm and experience and all that jazz. But because of the presence of Elise and the risk of the gank, Prophet played defensive. He actually went even. And then when sOAZ went back, got himself a lot of armor. That meant that the threat was lower, and all sOAZ had to do is keep pushing, as you see a bit of trading in mid.
Barrier used by Caps. Does take the grievous wounds from the Morello Nomicon as well, and of course that does affect Cassiopeia because you get the healing off the Twin Fangs, so you can shut down some of her sustain in the lane. We've seen HeaQ and Sprattel come up towards the top side now because they lost that bottom tower, and Fnatic, after taking that tower, have been able to extend about a 3,000 gold lead over NIP early on in this match.
So you can actually see HeaQ hanging around the bottom lane. Profit is there as well.
There's a tower there, and sOAZ respect flashes.
I think you have to. There was the risk of HeaQ going for a flash himself, using the cast to knock back. They are aware that Nagne's in mid. It would have been a 2 versus 1, but if he gets forced back from the tower, that's an advantage that Fnatic gives away that they don't want to, because they're going to secure themselves to top tier 1, extend the goal lead even more, and continue to play very clean early game.
And look at how strong this bot lane has been for Fnatic. They have a 50 CS lead at the 14-minute mark. They have a huge gold income coming out from Tristana and from Jesiz. We said we wanted to see Jesiz step up, and he has definitely done that. Fnatic with the 3rd tower of the game. NIP trying to answer in the bottom lane. Should be able to with this Rift held, because sOAZ won't take it down too quickly and isn't even able to pop the eye on the back. So NIP will answer with a structure of their own, and Profit wants to answer with a little bit more as sOAZ gets jumped on by HeaQ. Of course, he does not have the flash. NIP should be able to secure themselves their first kill of this matchup. Sprattel's going to use the wild growth to jump away, and NIP will be safe in the top lane for the time being.
But pressure continues to mount from Fnatic. Taking down that mid-tier 1 is huge, even though NIP are able to answer. If they can get themselves this tier 2, this will be a good response from NIP, giving them a little bit more pressure on the map. Broxah is here to answer.
We'll try and respond to this, and HeaQ, of course, doesn't have the flash, doesn't have the explosive cast. Profit does still have Gnar, with Caps on his way down. NIP need to be wary as to how they escape from Broxah in this bottom lane, because Caps is slithering his way down through the river. Profit's now gone into mini. He has flash, HeaQ does not. Let's have a body slam. We'll try and get the barrel slow, but the miasma grounds him. The cocoon's going to land as well, and HeaQ should go down. Caps on a killing spree, 3-0 on the Cassiopeia.
Good map movement there from Caps. NIP, they wanted to try and get that tier 2 tower. They overstayed their welcome a little bit, and because of the presence of Broxah, they weren't allowed to back, so they could only walk away, allowing Caps to get the rotation, get the kill, and now be 3-0-0 on this Cass, who already completed the Rod of Ages. Just want to check how many stacks he had. Only 2, so he's done it fairly recently, but to get that, the earlier, the better.
And Fnatic's early game this game has been so much better than in the last game of this series. They have a 5,000 gold lead 15 minutes in. This is the Fnatic we expected to see in game 1, and sadly, this is the NIP we expected to see as well.
Well, it all comes back down to that 2 versus 2 in the bottom lane. We said it in the moment, but we have to emphasize it. This is part of the reason why Lulu fell out of competitive. She is super squishy. She's extremely easy to shut down. We have seen some teams over in North America pick her as an answer to things like Janna, where it's not as easy to shut her down, but when you can send 4 members bot, you don't have the same disengage tools as a Janna. You don't have the same level of peel. And so it becomes easy to just all in, dive on your face, and if not kill you, kill your AD carry, which so far HeaQ has been the brunt of. Didn't die a single time in game 1, already at 2 in game 2.
It's a sad time to be an AD carry. 2017, perhaps not their year, but Rekkles is trying to disprove that as he continues to push in the top lane. This is the Fnatic we wanted to see, and part of this is their adaptability. Since Rift Rivals, they have been so much better at changing the way they play to make sure they're going to win the game. It's not always about playing the animal style. It's not always about playing the meta they want to play. Rather, they adapt and they adjust to make sure that they can beat their opponents on that given series.
Yeah, I think we've talked a lot over the split, or the second half of the split, how Fnatic have evolved. We don't have time to talk about that because Broxah here is going to switch Sprattel out.
Boom does land. Lulu is just so squishy. That's through an exhaust that Sprattel is taken down to 1/3 HP. However, NIP with this Hitsuki style once again, light a fire on the Lulu and steal a Mountain Drake for yourselves.
Well, cost you an exhaust, so that was quite an expensive fire. Because next time Broxah will just one-shot you. So you're going to have to respect that as Rekkles.
Oh, Rekkles, this is beautiful. HeaQ doesn't even realize it's happening. And Broxah KS!
That was actually a KS. He clearly wanted the assist. He was like, yo, wait. Let me just hit him. So I can get a bit of extra gold there, matey.
Let me just hit him with my fangs when he's on 100 HP.
Insta-kill. So we can see here, no vision from the side of NIP. Rekkles just going to jump over the wall. Hello there. I have a pumpkin for you, good sir. Fairly well.
It's not quite October, but already Halloween as a spooky Broxah jumps in and secures the kill for Fnatic. And it just looks like HeaQ wasn't quite reacting. Perhaps slightly off kilter after the early game where they got harassed down so much. Perhaps not as comfortable on this Kalista as he was on the Tristana. And it's starting to show. Fnatic is starting to work out where the cracks are in the NIP armor. They are utilizing them to great effect.
So you're getting to a point now where NIP, they kind of need a big mistake from Fnatic. Whether it be a Baron throw, an overextend underneath the turret, someone warding by themselves. Something big has to happen for NIP because we talked about the scaling, we talked about how NIP's reliance is very much on getting an early lead, and right now they do not have that early lead, especially on these two carries. Prophet is still relatively strong. Maybe you fall back on the, Prophet can split push to success, but it's looking very unlikely when you can just have the 5-man unit of Fnatic group up mid, throw the Rumble ulti down, have the siege from Tristana. Things definitely looking bleak right now for the boys in Pyjamas.
Picks and bans, we said Fnatic are happy just to scale up. Well, they'll be very happy to have a strong early game as well. 2 items finished onto Rekkles with the Static Shiv and the Infinity Edge complete, whereas HeaQ is still only sitting on a Blade of the Blue King. Nagne has completed his Morellonomicon, but once again, Caps is almost an entire item ahead with the Rod of Ages and the Morello for himself. It seems to me that there may possibly become a point where Fnatic's weakness in having too much AP comes back to bite them. You can build Locket of the Iron Solara, you can build full Mercury Treads. It's going to take a while, but NIP perhaps have a little bit of hope to hold on to.
Maybe, but how are you going to build that magic resistance if you got no gold? Right now, NIP, they can barely step into their own jungle. They're just taking the scraps of the farm that Fnatic choose to leave them. And while NIP for the now hold onto their top side of the jungle, that's because Fnatic are all grouped up there. They're not trying to fight over the vision right now. Their focus is actually just going to be on the Baron. Now this is the big risk that we talked about.
We've seen a Baron throw in game 1 already, or a Baron stolen away.
Step back.
Yeah, stolen away by Broxah, but then Shook was able to steal away the Elder Drake. So 1-for-1 steals. Sprattel once again in that front line. Needs to realize he's not playing Alistar this game. He's not as tanky as he was in the last. However, Nagne still sitting in an okay position on this Syndra. Fnatic have set up a good vision line here, Vedius. They've got control wards, they've got a couple of deep wards in the NIP jungle.
Aye, that they do. I'm looking across some of the itemization that has been finished now. Morello also done for Caps. Cassiopeia. It's alright. I just thought of that. Wanted to share. You mentioned earlier the 2-item spike for Tristana.
No!
Thanks, man. Thank you.
No!
Don't give me that thumbs down.
That is not allowed. Cassiopeia is an awful pun.
That's great. They laughed when you said it.
I never said Cassiopeia.
That's not fair. You're going to steal my puns, then make them cool.
Okay, speaking of Cassiopeia, though, in that middle lane, this is the sort of performance we expect from an MVP of the split. This is the sort of performance we expect from the player with the highest damage per minute.
You've already given him MVP of you.
A possible MVP.
Possible. Okay, all right.
He wasn't actually at the top of my list, I will be honest.
That's fair. And I mean, we heard from many mid laners that Caps is rated extremely highly on their tier. There's a lot of debate. If you ask all the mid laners, they naturally say, well, it's me and then whoever comes after them.
Such a mid lane mentality.
Caps is always up there, and I think that's the most important thing is Nagne.
Chunked down with the equalizer and has to flash away from the Electro Harpoon. This is the problem with Nagne here. He's not able to build those Mercury Treads. He needs the extra damage because the rest of his team is lagging so far behind that if Fnatic take a fight, he needs to be on that front line.
Okay, here we go. Shook, this is your time. This is your moment.
Oh, baby, here we go. Baron steals! No way does that happen! Prophet split pushing as well with a wave. Hitsuke strategies. He's actually dead. You've actually died. God damn.
I mean, when I said it earlier, I was like, well, maybe they can steal the Baron, right? Maybe it can be a possibility. And then Shook walks in and he's like, pop, smite, I'm out. Damn.
Okay, let's have a look at this Baron swing, though, because when Fnatic stole it, it was 6,500 gold.
All right, so if we can get the slow-mo, boom. The smite comes in a little too early, and then he gets the bot, the barrel bot, to secure the Baron. And, oh, okay, my mistake. So it actually...
Broxah didn't smite.
Yeah,
that
he didn't smite.
Is Shook smiting, and
that's a great face.
And Caps is like, guys,
I see. Interesting.
However, Fnatic is still 3,000 gold ahead, Vedius. They're still in a good position. This is going to delay the game a little bit. In picks and bans, we said NIP have a good mid-game, but their late game isn't as strong as Fnatic.
Yeah, so if they tried to force a fight now, would definitely still be very, very risky. But as you rightly said, stalling NIP, if they can just equalize the items, 3 items, there's still a good opportunity for them to fight. Nagne, ooh, I wonder, like, he could go for a Void Staff. Right now, there's not a huge amount of MR on the side of Fnatic, but once he hits 3 items, like, he will be able to just shred through Rekkles. He has to be mindful of the Braum, of course. But look at Prophet, look at his sneaky positioning. Going full ninja as he's behind sOAZ.
sOAZ will get a balance to the face. Fnatic are going to try and collapse, though. Shook did use the explosive cask there and was not able to connect. There's the Kalista in the top lane, split pushing. HeaQ's cosplaying his inner Rekkles for the time being, as he is in a side lane, and we'll get a tower for NIP, closing that gold gap bit by bit. And Vedius, in game 1, Fnatic didn't have an outright tank in the same way that NIP did, and once again, you look down their lineup and you look down especially Broxah's build, I'm struggling to find a pure tank coming out from Fnatic.
Yeah, there's no real front line aside from Jesiz, who will naturally get tanked, especially once he completes the quest from his Targons. But aside from that, you're right, there's no real front line, and NIP, they do have the Gragas, they do have the Gnar, but it's always about that damage threat, right? When you have this many damage threats that have a lot of mobility and can threaten the backline, even without even diving onto them, that's something that you always have to respect as well. And sure, this Elise will fall off, but if she lands that cocoon onto HeaQ, that will be a dead Kalista.
HeaQ does have the wild growth to help him out.
He
does have the polymorph as well, and does have our favorite item in the game at the moment. Ardent Sensor, baby.
He does.
I hate it.
Wait, is it called Ardent Sensor, baby?
Yeah, well, I blame this item for my demotion from Diamond 5. Because I'm a support man, right? And I refuse to play Ardent Sensor champions because I find them really boring. And then I lose 2 games at 0 LP, and I'm in Plat 1. I know a lot of people feel my pain.
Hello.
I know it happens to people.
You can just run, is it Stoneborn Pact? Is that the...
Yeah, but I don't want to build the Ardent Sensor itself.
It's a good item.
It's boring.
And but the argument you're using is boring champions. Trundle's not a boring champion.
That's true, actually,
He's
yeah. Trundle and
super fun
Thresh.
supports.
Perhaps I should just give in to the masses and build the Ardent Sensor as many supports have done before.
It's all about your perspective. Do you want to win?
No, I want to have fun.
See, that's your problem, right? You don't play ranked games to have fun, right? See? You don't play ranked to have fun. If we were all playing for fun right now, this would be like Yasuo versus Zed. No. You play to win in rank. You play with me if you want to have fun, right? When we do...
Yeah, because we're never going to win if we play together.
If we do the Kayn Pantheon bot lane, that's fun right there, my friend. That's what you need with a bit of fun.
You are the king of the ha-ha. It's definitely a lot of fun to play with you. Fnatic do have a gold lead still, but it's only 1,000 now. It has shrunk since NIP got that Baron profit. Now we're ahead in CS in that top lane as well. We saw how strong he could be on this Gnar in a split push role, and against a Rumble who only falls off in a 1v1 as we get later on into the game. I really want to see what the former SKT member can do for NIP.
Just keeping track of the vision as well, because there's no big objective for either team to take advantage of for the time being. So you can just see wards littered across the map from NIP particularly. They haven't really focused their vision. They've just put it around where they've allowed HeaQ to push. You can see a deep pink ward down in the bottom lane. You can see one deep control ward rather near the top as well. And NIP, they're just trying to help HeaQ get back into the game. 0-3, not the best scoreline for any AD carry, but they're just investing, funneling as much gold
and experience into him as possible. He's now been able to equalize that experience gap. He is now slowly closing the itemization difference. And we did talk about how Rekkles, regardless, will do way more damage in the late game. That doesn't mean that a Kalista suddenly becomes useless because there are so many squishy targets. It just comes back to what you were saying when it comes to tanks. Kalista does struggle when you have a lot of high HP targets because you can't fully utilize the wrench. You can get a lot of stacks in, but because it scales with AD, armor is a good mitigator of that kind of burst. Whereas when you have all these squishy targets who have low HP, that wrench becomes a big threat that in an extended trade can definitely work out in your favor. So it's going to be exciting how these fights play out, especially once HeaQ is able to fully complete his third item. As we do see Nagne now going for a Liandry's instead rather than the Void Staff. And I love that shift as well. He's recognizing there's not a huge amount of magic resistance that he has to hit through. So he's just going for an alternative build path, current health percentage damage, a lot of good poke value that he gains, as things like the Baron and Dragon will be respawning in the near future.
40 seconds on the Baron, 50 seconds on a Mountain Drake. Fnatic did pick up a Cloud while we were discussing other things. Not the best Dragon for them to have, but still impactful. We say this every time a Cloud Drake gets picked up.
I love Cloud.
Well, play-by-play say this every time. Because basically we can't see the value in them, so we have to just pretend that they can be good.
It adds a lot to the Elder Drake too. We saw how impactful that was in Game 1. The more Drakes you have, it's always going to contribute towards that later game objective as well. And the fact that NIP were able to steal away a Mountain from Fnatic is great. Because one of the things you always have to look at between both teams is how quickly they take down Baron. Tristana and a Cassio, huge Baron taking potential. Along with Kalista, also another big threat for taking down this Baron later into the game. So if either of these teams get the good setup for that big objective, it could very swiftly turn in one team's favor.
Vedius, so often as well, we talk about vision control around these objectives, and I want to just highlight one specific ward. I hope the observers follow me down here, because sOAZ and Rekkles have walked over this ward near the Fnatic red buff twice, and it allows Prophet just to be so much safer down towards this bottom lane. I'm sure we'll go down there in just a little bit to see that control ward, because it is so vital for Prophet in that side lane. Fnatic are going to start up this Baron.
Can he do it again?
Shook. Oh, come on, baby. Come on, Shook. Do it for the fans. Do it for the adoring public. Do it to count yourself as a Kingslayer. Can't get there. The Buster Shot knocks him back, and Fnatic do secure the Baron. The Equalizer comes out as well. That catches onto Nagne. Rekkles gets a crit, the Cocoon, the Cleanse, the Unleashed Power doesn't even get through half Rekkles' health. Prophet is still split pushing, did not teleport to join the fight.
Exquisite ultimate there from Rekkles, knocking Shook over 2 walls. Well, 1 wall to basically keep him away. But keeping him away from the Baron pit to avoid any risk of a steal was massive for Fnatic. Prophet now continuing his split push in the bottom lane. Trading an inhibitor for inhibitor here would be great for NIP, but Fnatic, their eyes are set on the base of their opposition.
Yeah, if Fnatic get one fight here, they can perhaps even end the game. Prophet still down towards that bottom lane, looking for the inhibitor. Fnatic secure themselves there first. HeaQ, Rekkles jumps in, has the QSS if he wants to get out, and HeaQ's going to take a chunk. Rekkles just about survives. A Rend would have killed him. And NIP are able to defend their AD carry. They do not get an inhibitor. Shook jumps in, knocks Caps back, and Fnatic will escape with their lives.
Rekkles just able to base Prophet. He couldn't get the inhibitor. He was too afraid of the other Fnatic members collapsing, but also the damage potential of sOAZ in that 1 versus 1. He's still hanging around though. He knows that he's overextended. Look at the rest of NIP, they're coming for the collapse.
sOAZ is going to take a little bit of damage from Prophet. The Frozen Mallet will slow him down as well, but Prophet isn't able to go any further. A second Mountain Drake steal would be great for NIP. Gives them extra damage, of course, to the Baron. With the Kalista, they have a great Baron taking composition.
But also the Elder Drake as well, which now will be a big point of contention. Fnatic, though, they've started to group up already. They want to take full advantage of this Baron buff that they have. 1.5 minutes left on top of it. They have a minion race set up top. Notice Caps walking through the mid lane to push those minions into the base of NIP so that they have to respond. I love the fact that Fnatic are not slowing down. They know that they want to keep the pressure going. They don't want to have to rely on another Baron in order to take the rest of NIP's base.
And so many strong performances from Fnatic members in this game. We said we wanted to see them play more like MVPs. Caps is yet to die. Rekkles is yet to die. And this would be them being able to equalize the series if they can close out this game. Have to remember how strong NIP were in that game one, Vedius, especially when we got to these later game team fights. And although the scaling may be in Fnatic's favor, NIP have shown us they do not give up without a fight.
I think it's worth highlighting that this is only game 2. We still, if Fnatic win, are guaranteed a game 3. Both these teams have been playing very well. Even though NIP have been on the back foot for the majority of this game, they've held on. They have not made this an easy challenge for Fnatic. This has not just been a one-sided stomp. I love the fact that NIP, in their final game of the season against the best performing team in Group A, some argue the best team currently in Europe, are making them work for their wins.
Do not get fed for free in the EU LCS. You have to work for your supper, and Fnatic are working incredibly hard to try and shut down NIP. They're pushing in towards this bottom lane. Just want to focus very quickly on the AD carry itemizations. Only 3 completed items for HeaQ, whereas Rekkles is so far ahead on this Tristana. He's got 4 items and a QSS. He is almost completely built on Tristana.
He's about to flame Horizon his opposition as well. Level 17 on the Trist. Rekkles has had a phenomenal game 2. Here comes the equalizer, zoning them away from the tower.
Pushes them back, and Nagne takes a cocoon as well. That's a cleanse burn. He has no flash as well. NIP as a team are flashless apart from Profit, which means they have to be that much more defensive in their holding of these inhibitor towers.
So Fnatic have now successfully taken every Tier 2 tower of NIP that stands in their way. 1 inhibitor has been taken in the middle lane, and there's top and bot left remaining. So Fnatic still maintain full control over the map. Those 2 control wards from NIP still remaining. At this point in the game, slightly less value because Fnatic are going to be spending more time in your half of the jungle than in their own. And as Rekkles approaches full build, I'm keeping my eyes on the spawning of that Elder Drake. It is going to be so impactful. 2 dragons either side. If either team can get it, it can swing the turn of a fight in an instant. And it will mean so much moving forward.
There's beautiful symmetry as well between the G2 Roccat series and this one. Roccat went ahead, G2 played a very strong second game, and then Roccat were able to win it in the end. I'm sure Fnatic will not want that final game to replay itself in this series, but this is what we want from the top team in Europe. This is the more considerate, the more patient, the playing around your composition, around your power positions in the game. Now Caps is basically fully built, only sitting a little bit off that final couple of items. Rekkles is almost fully built, and NIP, they have to find a perfect fight. It has to be point perfect for them to win. Sprattel has to use exhaust on Broxah, who doesn't even engage for the full fight. Fnatic have NIP by the scruff of the neck. They put down another equalizer. They're looking for this final, for this inhibitor in the top lane. Redemption comes down as well. There's the tower down. Profit still in the bottom lane, looking for an inhibitor of his own. NIP will be able to answer without giving up an inhibitor yet.
But keep your eyes on the mid lane as well, because there are a lot of minions that are just knocking onto the Nexus tower doors. And here comes a TP from Profit.
Gonna jump in, jump straight to the back line. He's gonna get grounded up. Wild Growth comes out as well, but they cannot keep him alive. Profit trying to get in with the flank on the back line, but sOAZ has jumped straight onto HeaQ. The unleashed power will knock back sOAZ. Profit gets a huge stun. That's a shutdown on Caps, and sOAZ is dead. HeaQ, this is your time to shine, but Rekkles, Jesiz, and Broxah will get away.
NIP, they need to get back to the mid lane. That was a great fight for them, 1 for 2. But if they lose an inhibitor, could very well all be for naught. They're able to keep their remaining base alive. They forced the Fnatic squad back. The setup looked promising, but the execution was poor from NIP. The TP flank from Profit is what I want you to keep your eyes on. Look at how far away Profit joins the fight from. You can see he is so far from this fight, but that by the time the channel completes, the front line is already dead. And the only reason why NIP are able to turn this is because Jesiz jumps in, and then Nagne gets a beautiful 4-man stun off with the ulti into E combo. Multiple members get locked up. HeaQ is free to deal DPS in the backline. We talked about how there are multiple squishy units, and you're able to see the damage that they throw out now. sOAZ is in base. He does have the TP. They don't know that this Baron is going on. It's dead.
Another Baron snuck under the eyes of Fnatic. This is something our bottom team seems so good at doing. Roccat first, and now NIP, the second Baron of the game for NIP. And actually, Fnatic did this in game 1. They stole a Baron, then they got the second one, and they lost the game. NIP may be trying to do that, or trying not to do that in this second game. The Elder Drake is on the cards. NIP pushing down the middle lane with their Baron-empowered minions. Fnatic setting up a death push once again, and Shook is going to check straight into it. The Cocoon comes out, not able to connect onto any members of Fnatic, as NIP perhaps just forced down mid here. They do have mid priority.
Yeah, they're just rushing it down mid. Bear in mind that you have to notice Prophet, he got the bottom inhibitor as well, so there's minions pushing in favor of NIP. Remember what happened last time? Shook stole this, and Fnatic lost the fight.
Shook's up towards the top side, does have his smite. He's looking for it, they can't get it. Fnatic secure the Elder Drake, and they want the fight. A superb equalizer onto the back line of NIP as Fnatic now push forward. Prophet stunned up, he's gonna go down. A second stun, can't get to the blast cone, and Rekkles is gonna hop forward. He wants these resets, he wants these kills, he wants this win, as do the rest of Fnatic. But Nagne knocks him back, and NIP are able to disengage. They do still have the Baron buff.
But now, with Prophet dead, Fnatic, they have the numbers advantage. They have the Elder Drake. They can take themselves a mid lane inhibitor, and they can send someone back to answer the big minion wave bot that is stacking for NIP. Game 2 turning into a close affair. One big fight for NIP results in a Baron. An Elder Drake traded on the side of Fnatic. This time they do not allow it to be stolen away. And this is just very reminiscent of what we saw in game 1. Except now everything seems to be reversed. And if things continue the way they are, it will result in one big fight going in the favor of Fnatic, resulting in them being able to close out the game, but there is still a lot of the game left. Kalista at 4 items, many squishy targets, so many items being completed. This game is still wide open.
We even have the same gold lead as we had in the last game. It's 6,000 gold ahead for Fnatic at the moment. However, as we get later into the game, that counts less and less. NIP, you have to remember, came into this series as very much the underdogs, expected to get clean swept. And going into promotion this week and next, they will have such a confidence boost against Giants, against Schalke, against Mysterious Monkeys to some part, who are much more later game teams who fight in this late portion where NIP have been able to challenge Fnatic.
Tell your friends at home, European LCS is one crazy show right in their final week. We've had so many exciting games, all 3 for big ulti.
Flying Gaze is gonna land, and that is not quite the kill on HeaQ. It will eventually pop down with the poison. A great kill from Caps. It looked like the gaze would not quite connect, but he manages to get just the tip of it to hit onto HeaQ. Sprattel goes low as well with the equalizer. sOAZ jumps in. Sprattel has to flash. Prophet there, almost mega. He might look for the re-engage. Knock back. Jesiz in the front line. Glacial Fisher hits 2. Prophet hopping away as much as he can. Nagne does have a bit of a flank here, but cannot connect as much as he would like onto Fnatic. Now, Fnatic look for their second inhibitor and perhaps look to close out this game.
HeaQ is only just started building his QSS. This is the first time that he gets hit by Caps' ulti. He was 0-3 for so long, and that crucial death will give Fnatic priority over the base, but they do not want to hard commit. They do not want to run the risk. They still show respect towards Nagne. Their bottom inhibitor has respawned, and they want to go catch the wave so that it doesn't take it. And everything resets. Fnatic return to full control over the map, and it is now NIP that have to fight their way back.
And once again, Vedius, it's a story of the AD carries in this game. Rekkles, unkilled, 305, fully built on this Tristana, is just pumping out damage after damage in these fights, but this was all on Caps.
Just very unfortunate there from HeaQ. He wanted to throw the spear in to see if anyone was in there. They could have used the Scryer's Blue, rather, to check that brush, but they used it southwards rather than southwesterly.
Vedius, the weatherman. We've got southwesterly winds from our Scryer's Blooms today.
Well,
be careful for poison trails that might get blown into your path.
And also creepy snake ladies that turn you to stone.
I've never heard that on the weather report before. I don't usually get warned about monsters.
Those are the worst in Wales, man. They are super annoying. Going for some bread in the morning and then,
not a snake lady, oh dear.
Anyway, so Fnatic, they have mid and top. Bear in mind, NIP were able to push that out, so for a while that will take some time before it threatens the NIP base. So NIP, they can group up as a multi-man unit in the bottom lane. They're keeping Fnatic out for now. Let's see if they can find this great fight. They've done it before, can they do it again?
Prophet much more grouped with the team now as well. He's not going for that split push and then teleporting in. He's there from the start of the fight, as is sOAZ. All ultimates available on either side. Most of the flashes up as well. This is going to be a barnstormer of a fight. NIP have to defend against the 2 inhibitors that will push in those waves of super minions in the top lane and in the mid. And Fnatic waiting for them to have to react and then looking for the push. So as with the Zhonyas, as NIP went aggressive, doesn't have flash.
It's a good cooldown to burn. On the side of NIP, Fnatic, they're getting a little hesitant. They're afraid to push up that hard. They have 2 waves of supers pushing in, and now they feel confident to work their way towards that tower. A few members of NIP going back to base. They all can't go together. Otherwise, that will be the go signal for Fnatic.
The minion wave is still a little while away in this bottom lane, so it looks like Nagne will get back to the tower in time. However, the other waves are pushing in, Vedius.
Inhibitor respawning soon. I heard the announcement. I think it's in the middle lane. Here comes the equalizer. The siege is starting.
Sprattel's low explosive shot comes out as Jesiz puts up the Unbreakable. That's the tower down. Prophet just turns into Mega, and Fnatic back away because of it. NIP still unable to find the engage. There are minions in the top lane pushing on these Nexus towers.
Fnatic, they're happy with the tower. They want to disengage. Baron spawning soon. They do not want to run the risk of losing a fight and allowing NIP to get themselves that objective. Smart, respectful play coming out from Fnatic. They realize the power of NIP. They realize that this is not a team that they can afford to underestimate anymore. And things will boil down to what could be a big game-ending team fight. NIP have no idea who is back at base right now, who is active on the map. All they know is that Baron is alive and that Fnatic won it.
Comes down to vision once again. Sprattel and NIP trying to set up some vision in their red side jungle, but the rest of the map belongs to Fnatic. The late game belongs to Fnatic, scaling in the Cassio, scaling in the Tristana. NIP fighting very much an uphill battle here. 4 towers down. 7,000, almost 8,000 gold behind as well.
And you know what? Scaling's good and all, but what's scaling gonna do against a Nagne ultimate in your face? If Rekkles gets barreled back into the rest of the team, and Nagne is able to dish out the deeps that he's been so vigilantly building up, that could be the win condition for NIP as a fight starts.
sOAZ down to half. HeaQ trying to kite back dodges out the cocoon as well. And sOAZ is squishy. No tank, remember, on this Fnatic lineup, apart from Jesiz, who really only has the locket in the face of the mountain. Fnatic do have to be incredibly careful as to how they engage and when they take these
This is going to be fast. This is really fast.
Holy moly, it's already down to half. As Shook looks for the engage, will get the ward in. Is he going to go? Sprattel there off towards the side as well. The miasma comes down. It's still on 2,000. Shook's going to jump in. He does not get it. Rekkles is low, and now NIP have to take this fight. They need to win this one out, but Fnatic are looking to disengage. Prophet gets stunned up, and Rekkles opens up the guns. Jump in from Shook, looking for the knockback. sOAZ down to half. Caps off towards the top side, still has a blast code. Look at Prophet, he's low. Has a GA though. Jump in from sOAZ with the flash. As Fnatic are able to re-engage the fight and force NIP back. Fnatic still want a little piece of this. Rekkles especially. Oh baby, there's your MVP. He jumps in once again, perhaps seeing if he can catch out another member of NIP. Nagne, Jesiz is going to walk straight into him. sOAZ TP's in for the flank. Is this it? Jesiz dead to HeaQ. The kill on the GA as well, but now sOAZ is going to get knocked back, and that's a dead Rumble. Only 3 members of Fnatic left alive. With this Baron buff, they can push in, but they have to be so cautious as to how they fight NIP.
They're just about able to keep their mid inhib alive, but it doesn't matter as Rekkles is in the bait. Fnatic, they've lost 2 members, but they walk away with the objective that they want. Now, can NIP get the re-engage?
Shook doesn't have flash, but Prophet cannot quite land the Gnar. That could be it. That could be Fnatic being able to reset and take this fight, because Caps wants this bot lane inhibitor. Fnatic want these inhibs down. They want people to know that the old kings still live in Europe.
They go back.
That was boring.
Wow.
I built it up. I built up this huge hype moment, and Fnatic like
that was boring.
Yeah,
that was a great series of events. Fnatic, NIP, so clutch, so close. This time it is Shook goes in, he smites. Notice how Fnatic, they just stop. Rekkles takes a huge chunk of damage, and there comes the early smite out from Shook. Broxah is this time able to get the smite down. He does not lose out in the smite battle. They are now 2-2. And Shook, he tries to go for the re-engage, but that miasma acted such a strong zoning tool that NIP did not feel confident committing to the engagement. The barrel was used so early from HeaQ, trying to force Broxah out from the pit that he couldn't afford to commit anymore. The Gnar ultimate wasn't available for Profit. And it ended up in, oh, Jesiz, okay, he overcommitted a little bit. They thought that with the sOAZ flank they could try and go for something in their favor. But sOAZ ends up dying as well with only 3 members. Fnatic, they cannot close out the game. 48 minutes in. The gold don't matter anymore, Medic.
But coming back to that play, that's not something you expect from the best team in Europe. You don't expect them to overextend like that. You want a little bit more patience. You want a little bit more composure in these late game fights.
But it's this late into the game. You've been playing for a very long time now. You also have in the back of your mind that you might even have to play another one. And if you can get that pick, if you can get that game in, sometimes your brain tunnel visions. And it happens. I don't want to criticize him too much for it. The blue buff will reset. It looks like NIP will not get to the Elder Drake fast enough to contest. Will they even choose to fight? There are a lot of pings coming out right now.
They back away. Fnatic have the Elder Drake on everyone and the Baron on 3. They're looking for the bot lane in here. In 10 seconds, Vedius, this will be the longest game that either Fnatic or NIP have played this split. And perhaps we are getting to that point where it's a little bit unknown. You're not used to having to play this late into the game, and so decisions can go awry at times. NIP is still with the defense, though. This has been so strong from them, and you have to give them credit. As a lower tier team, as the bottom team in Group A, they have held off the league's best in many people's eyes for an incredibly long time, even when Fnatic have had 4, 5, 6, 7,000 gold leads, a 10,000 gold lead now, and as much as it doesn't matter, that has to impact you and your motivation. Profit's going to jump onto sOAZ. He's low. sOAZ burning through him. The Wild Growth comes out. Profit looking for the Mega. sOAZ with the Zhonya's back up once again. And Jesiz so much better on this support this game. HeaQ dodges out the Petrifying Gaze. Uses as well the Mercurial Scimitar. Fnatic will take their third inhibitor of this push. And it's just the Nexus towers between them and a game 3 in this series.
Fnatic, they have everything. There is only 2 Nexus towers standing in their way and an NIP squad that is full of motivation to get a series win to end the split. That's a lot of damage onto HeaQ, but the ulti's down. Here they go. They're going for the fight.
sOAZ is down to 400 HP as well, and Nagne
I think they're gone. They're out.
Fnatic not quite able to close it out yet. However, sOAZ has got teleport. He can rejoin.
Yeah.
He won't have the equalizer. No Petrifying Gaze. Buster Shot is available for Rekkles, as is that Glacial Fissure. But look at NIP. All of the ultimates are available. They have to choose their moment to strike.
Gnar on its way. Rekkles takes a fair chunk of damage from HeaQ. Into building. The tension is rising. The TP comes in the bottom lane from sOAZ. At this point, the Hustis is out the window. It's all about who lands that key ultimate. It's all about down to player skill. Late game, full builds, everyone playing in this tense moment. NIP, they have to deal with the minions. They have to deal with Fnatic. But Fnatic, they don't feel confident enough to commit with 2 towers standing in their way. They're yet to pull the trigger.
We've got so far in this game as well that Rekkles has broken a record for the split. The most CS of anyone on any champion across the course of the EU LCS Summer split. It's only apt that in week 10, Rekkles, the man of the split, will break that CS record. And now they are looking to push in once again. HeaQ so aggressive, considering how bad he played early on. He dodges out the Petrifying Gaze. This is not the HeaQ that went 0-2 in laning phase. This is the HeaQ that went unkilled in game 1. NIP, do not give an inch to Fnatic.
He is playing so far up on the front line. That is a dangerous way to play, but he does get the ultimate out from Caps. HeaQ takes a churn of damage, but remember the lifesteal that he has available. The Iron Sensor as well.
Stun onto Jesiz.
Here we go.
Here comes HeaQ. The Equalizer's going to split.
That's a big
from the team. That's huge. However, HeaQ will be able to back away into the redemption. Nagne. Huge stun! And an unleashed power to the face of sOAZ. He's going to not quite die. He survives.
He's dead.
NIP! Vedius!
That is a huge team fight for NIP. People, look at the base. Look at the base. There's still a lot of minions from Fnatic.
Profit's going back. Can he save the base?
Fnatic.
No way, Rekkles. If they backdoor this, I will eat a shoe.
They've done this before. Oh my god, there's no base. They have to back. They have to back.
NIP have to back, and they're doing it. They're leaving 2 members to continue the push. Profit trying to defend. 3 members of NIP are back here. Nagne always has that unleashed power back up
They're
again.
backing too, they're backing
Fnatic
too.
realize that
Stop
NIP
the
are
ports!
Stop the ports! Stop them getting back if you want to win. NIP, they're going to look to break the pace. 30 seconds on sOAZ, 30 seconds on Caps, 30 seconds on Jesiz. Can NIP win?
Can they even defend their own Nexus? Look at Nagne, he's doing his best to hold the line, but the pressure is mounting. There they are, NIP, they're on the base. The backs are coming in from Rekkles. NIP, they have to disengage. They win a huge fight against Fnatic. Oh my words!
What a game to see NIP off. They are in such a proud position at the moment that they're going
they're
for the ban.
they're going.
But 5 members of Fnatic will be left alive. Let's see if there's a ward in the NIP base they can get to. No, there is not. No backdoor from sOAZ today. The Baron's going to fall. NIP will secure it, and perhaps Fnatic will rue the fact they did not pull the trigger earlier on, because NIP are right back in this game.
Fnatic, when they lost to Roccat, the 0-14 Jarvan was when they could not pull the trigger. They could not do it fast enough. And in this situation, they were showing so much respect. They know the late game power that they have, but they have no reliable engaged tools. Something that we barely talked about in this game is that how do they really start the fight? And NIP, they have the disengage tools. If Fnatic ever hard commit, it becomes difficult. They've drafted a composition that, with the Elise...
Oh, Fnatic, don't do this. It's a death push again, Vedius.
It is.
It's what Fnatic do when they can't work out a way to engage. It's exactly what you're saying. What they've been doing up until these Nexus towers was they put down an equalizer behind the turret and said, either you stand there and fight us and take a huge chunk of damage, or we are able to take the tower anyway. NIP now pushing down the bottom lane. It's the only lane with an inhibitor still down for them. Fnatic looking to see perhaps if they can catch someone out in the jungle. Not going to be the case for now, but Profit will spot them. NIP, of course, have the empowered recalls.
I'm going to be so sad if someone just dies. I want a 5v5
Just a bad
fight.
catch.
Yeah, I want the final deciding fight to determine this game. I don't want anyone to get caught. I want it to be mechanics on mechanics, team fighting on team fighting. NIP have fought so bravely, and while Fnatic fans are desperate, well, they're not desperate, like this is the dominant team, this is the best split that Fnatic's had since 2015. I can hear the crowd. They still cheer for NIP though. There is so much support for this squad because they have worked so hard this split to get this point. Their final game. There's just, you want to see them succeed, but you also want Fnatic, like it's such a tense game.
NIP have delayed Fnatic so long that this is the longest game of the split. They're looking for the inhibitor in the bottom lane. Fnatic have all 5 members back to defend.
Can NIP pull the trigger?
5 MVP candidates on Fnatic against 5 members of NIP that are heading to the promotion tournament. NIP take their 2nd inhibitor of the game, and Fnatic continue to look for the defense. Miasma pushes HeaQ back. Explosive cast does not connect as Shook would have liked.
So, a little trigger happy that Shook. At least we know he's willing to engage. NIP, they know they have the Baron. They feel the confidence welling up inside them, but a goal to this point means nothing. It's all about the fighting.
Sorry, Banner of Command on the minion to help it try and push into the inhibitor towers. We haven't even talked about 6 item builds because everyone has been there for so long.
Forget the items, Medic.
HeaQ has caught up. That is important. He can now stand even further on that front line. sOAZ trying to get the harpoons to hit, but HeaQ is dodging them like a crafty whale.
Okay, but we talked about the items. I want to come back. There is one important item, and that's this armed sensor. That is what is allowing Kalista to do so much damage in this late game. Keep your eyes on Nagne, because he's going to be the big determiner in this late game fight.
That tower is so low, almost falls. There is, of course, still the possibility that sOAZ builds full AD and TPs into the back to try and get a backdoor attempt.
Look at that ward. Look at
There's
it.
There's a ward there. Full AD rumble. It's a thing. NIP looking to close out a 2-0 over Fnatic.
Here's the bot lane in minion wave.
Huge wave, but Baron falls off Vedius, and now perhaps NIP do not have the pressure to advance. No Banner of Command. The Petrifying Gaze hits onto Profit.
Here he comes.
He gets the Gnar on 2. Caps is knocked up. Caps is dead. And so's the first Nexus tower. Nagne kills Rekkles, but the Nexus towers are falling. Rekkles is going to have to jump away as NIP look for the win. They'll get the stun. Shook there. Rekkles is dead. NIP. 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 Vedius, you predicted it. 2-0 for NIP. I bow to your prediction powers, because that was one of the most impressive wins I have seen against Fnatic. In fact, one of only 2 wins I've seen against Fnatic across the entire split.
Oh my word. NIP, what a performance. Fnatic looked so dominant. We thought it was going to be a quick game 2 into an exciting game 3, but no. NIP, they held the line. They defended the gate. They kept their Nexus alive until the very end. And you can't focus in on one player. So many did so much in the late game fights. Prophet had so many monumental ultimates. Shook getting those clutch barrels to get someone just at the right time. Nagne with phenomenal stuns. Just such an impressive performance from the team that went 1-11 during the regular season. Now 2-11. They can end their heads held high.
NIP, that is one of the most impressive performances I have seen in my career as a caster, never mind across the EU LCS. To hold on for so long against a force that has been dominant throughout the rest of the split. We talked time and time again, who's the Fnatic MVP? We said, is it sOAZ, is it Broxah, is it Jesiz? And all of them have a claim to lay on that title. But today, on this ground, NIP are the MVPs.
And it's super important to take into consideration the fact that in game 1 there was a discussion like, oh well, Fnatic, they weren't playing their comfort champions, they were trying some new things, they wanted to add things to their repertoire. And that's fair, I understand that. You still had a good performance, a lot of strong individuals that maybe you couldn't quite work. But then you come into game 2, Tristana, comfort pick on the AD carry. In the middle lane, you've got the Cassio for Cap, something that he has played time and time again. Elise, the first loss for Broxah on that champion. And sure, the Rumble, this is something that sOAZ has brought on in the past. He hasn't played much of it this season, but it's something that he's very well known for. Like, these were not new picks. These were comfort. This was Fnatic playing at their best. And at the very end, their composition just made it too difficult for them to engage. They couldn't find the fight. NIP were not falling for the traps. And they were able to get the win. And I don't want to take anything away from Fnatic. I think they played the majority of that game exceptionally well. They shut down the Kalista. They prevented that snowballing win condition. They showed maybe a little too much respect to their opponents, but at the end of the day, it was NIP that came out on top, and it was just such a thrilling series. It's a bit of a shame that it ends in a 2-0.
That it is. Player of the series, I don't think there's much doubt as to this. HeaQ in game 1 was unstoppable. In game 2, a poor early game, but then the ability to step forward time and time again, to step past the miasma, was just absolutely beautiful to watch. We'll soon hear from their support, Sprattel. I believe an interview is being set up as we speak, so we'll get into that as soon as possible. Vedius, I want to come back to what this means for the two teams as well. I'm going to focus on NIP, because Fnatic are already top of Group 1, top of Group A. We know that they're going into the semi-final berth. We know they're going to Paris in either the final or that third-place match. But NIP have promotion tournament to face. And it's not like last split where it was Origin and Giants and everyone said they're going to get beaten. It's such a great performance by them, and the rest of the teams will be struggling to face up against that.
That's very true, and to add to that, it's going to be even more bittersweet for G2 as well, because if they had beaten Roccat, that Fnatic versus G2 would have determined first place.
Didn't even think of that. NIP proved that Kings can bleed and pick up their second series of the split. Let's head over to Pyro with a word from their support.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. And wow, Sprattel, you not only 2-0'd Fnatic, it was on the last day of the split for you guys. It was the longest game of the split. Is that how you imagine beating a team like Fnatic?
Not necessarily. Like, honestly, I didn't really expect to beat them at all, you know? But it feels good to just, like, get a 2-0. Even if it doesn't matter at all, it's like, it's still nice to just win games, you know? So, yeah, it feels good. It feels good.
It has to feel good when you get that big victory, even though you guys are going to be promotion bound. I'll get to that in a minute. But it seems like the team is improving so much over the last several weeks. This is now your second victory. And I noticed a lot of the times it's coming from these Baron calls or Elder Dragon calls, and you guys are just coming up very clutch in objective fights. Is that something you've been focusing on?
Not necessarily. I think it's more about us just actually taking some risks going on stages. Like game 1 today, we went for a 50-50 Baron where we want to like just stop Jarvan from like getting Baron. But it's still risky, and like we lost the Baron at that point, and it's like fine, we just had to wait 7 minutes and we try again, you know. But it's not something we've been focusing on. It's just more getting used to the stage. Like we have 2 Koreans in the team who doesn't speak a lick of English before getting here, so like everyone has to get used to each other, and we're just a new team, you know. So it takes time to just get used to things, I would say. So it's not something we've been working on, but it just comes with time, I think, like small things.
It seems like it is finally starting to come together and not a moment too soon. Now, who is the one who's really making a lot of those calls? Is it democratic, or is it one particular person that's telling you guys to go in for the 50-50?
I think it's a bit mixed. Like I guess it's mostly me because I have the how do I say it? I speak the most in the team, like shot calling wise. But usually somebody just brings it up like, hey, can we do Baron? And then it's like, yeah, just go for it, you know, as a team effort. So like I wouldn't like say anyone particularly, but I would say everyone just calls it out. And if we agree as a team it's a good call, we have to go for it, you know.
It seems to be working out more often than not. Now, you guys are going to be heading into the promotion tournament. However, you've now taken out the Kings of Europe. So, I mean, how's your confidence that you're going to be able to survive those promos?
I'm not sure about confidence, but like we're not like worried about it or like scared at all. Like I think it's going to be good games, honestly. Like maybe like bad good games. You know? I don't think it's going to be clean like maybe this last game, but I think all 4 teams are honestly quite even, like in some ways. I don't think like there is anyone who's like the favorite, you know, and I don't think anyone is like the worst. So I can't say like I have a favorite to face. I think it's gonna be fun to play against everyone. Like I have Gillis as my old teammate in Giants, and like Schalke is my old like organization. So I have like, it's just gonna be fun games, I think.
I think so too, and I think I like the way you put it. Good bad games. We definitely have a lot of those. Thank you very much, Sprattel. Congrats on the win.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and send it out to the analysts to close out the day.